Hey there, Jeremy here from rcnightmare.com. Today we're going to be giving you another free tutorial video specifically on shocks, things you can do to change how your truck or car rides, and even more specifically, how to replace the shock oil. So I'm going to give way to our lead tech, Van, and he's going to take you through it.
Thanks, Jeremy. So, what we're going to do today is change out the oil from the stock oil that was in these shocks to some 50 weight team associated shock oil. Okay, so these shocks came from Slash 4x4, and what we're going to do is first just empty out the oil. I've already done it, so no, not gonna, but here's the cup where the oil went. Okay, so first thing to do is, like I said, empty the oil and just make sure that the shaft is not bent or anything. If you've been running your truck for a while, you may have damaged the shocks, the piston shaft here, so if they are damaged, you should get them replaced. Otherwise, if they're smooth going up and down, then it's fine to continue. Okay, so when it comes to shock and shock oil and things like this, the weight of the oil will affect the response of the shock. So there's a couple options. You can put in a heavier weight oil, and that will dampen the truck or car better than some lighter oil. So lighter oil, it'll go up much smoother, but heavier oil, it'll be much more friction, so it won't go up as quick when you do jumps or anything like that. Another option to affect that is the piston in here. I don't know if you can see it, but they come with pre-drilled holes in there. Some of them have 2 holes, some of them have 3 holes, and then they are also of different diameter. The size of the holes and the amount also affect how much oil goes through when the piston goes up and down. So obviously the bigger the hole, the easier the piston will move up and down. That's another way that you can affect the dampening effect of your shocks. So okay, these pistons look pretty good, so let's go ahead and put in the new oil. I'm going to show you how to put them in, try and get rid of as many air bubbles as you can, and then cap it, right? So here we go. Fairly straightforward here. There are no springs on these, just because when you're doing this, it's going to be a little bit easier without the springs on. So as you can see, what I did was I took the cap off of the oil thing. I don't like the little hole that comes on top. It doesn't work so well for me, so I pour it. If you like that, go ahead, right? Okay, so here we go. So with the piston all the way down, this is very important. Make sure it's all the way down so that you can put in as much oil as you can here. So let's just do this. Let's see. And one thing you'll notice too is the oil fills up a lot quicker without using that little nub on top there. There probably will be some spillage, but no worries about that, right? Because it's all good. Okay, so that looked like it was just about the right amount of oil. Now once you have the oil in there, what you want to do is cycle your piston. So just move the piston up, not all the way up, that it's outside of the oil, but up and then down just a couple times. What this is doing is it's trying to bring up all the air bubbles, and good shocks have no air bubbles in them, so because that affects the performance, obviously. And as you can see, I spilled a little bit, but no worries, we'll clean that up. So after you've cycled your piston a little bit there, just go ahead and actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it here for a bit. I got this little neat stand. It's not really built for shocks, but it will do the job. What we're doing here is just letting it rest a little bit to let all the bubbles rise to the top. By the time I finish putting the oil in this one and cycling it, that one should be ready to be capped. So let's go ahead with this guy. And again, I didn't make it explicit, but make sure you're at the bottom, and then go ahead, fill it up, up, up. Cool. And then again, just slowly cycle it, just to get rid of any air bubbles that may be inside. The important thing is if your piston goes above the top there, try not to push it up because then it'll draw down more air bubbles. So just up and down slowly. It brought up a few bubbles that time, but that one looked good. So I'm just going to do the same thing, let it rest here. And while that one's resting, I'm going to come back to this one. So piston cap here, or just going to put this right on top. And actually, depending on the different pistons from the different manufacturer, I mean the shocks, their instructions will be slightly different, but generally it's all the same. Push this piston up a bit to get the oil to the top level there, and most caps will have either an O-ring or some kind of dampener diaphragm thing up in here. So the purpose of doing this is to try and mate this to the shock with as least amount of air in there as possible. So let's go ahead, just put that on top and then tighten it down. Just like that. What you want to do is probably take some tools to it, but I spilled some oil, so let me just clean this up here a little. So once you have the cap on, you can, cycle your piston there. Now when you're doing this, one thing to note is if you hear any sloshing around or any popping or anything like that in the piston, if you hear anything, you'll know that you have air bubbles, and cycle it again, take it apart, try to get all the air bubbles out. Once you don't hear anything, like I didn't hear anything there, you're good to go, no air bubbles. So let's do the same thing with this one. Just bring it up as close to the top as I can, and let's just cap it. Yeah, I know I made a bit of a mess here, but it's all good, right? Alright, so same deal. Test it. Perfect. And there you have it, folks. That's how you change out the oil. If you have old oil, you just want to change the way your car is performing. Piston shock oil is a pretty simple upgrade, as you can see here. So yeah, thanks for watching.